Hi everybody, it's Sydney. I'm so excited to be back talking to you guys. This week I have a video all about the matter cycles. So whether you've heard of that before or not, just get ready because we're all going to go through it together. Alright everybody, let's get started today. So as I mentioned, today we are going to be talking about the matter cycles. And simply put, the matter cycles look at how matter moves through our ecosystems. And I think you will be amazed to learn how connected everything on Earth is. So there are 4 matter cycles on Earth. These are water, carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus cycles. First up is the water cycle. A fun fact is that only a small amount of the water on Earth is within living things at a given time. So let's first take a look at this thing called the abiotic source. Abiotic in science means non-living. Applied to the water cycle, the abiotic or non-living source of the water are lakes, the ocean, and clouds. Biotic is the opposite of abiotic. It means living. The terrestrial biotic or living uptake of water occurs through plant roots. So summing that up, we can say that abiotic, for further reference, means a non-living source, and the biotic uptake is the living thing that takes in the specific matter we're talking about. Here is an image of the water cycle. Let's summarize this by connecting it to real life. When you go to the beach, some of the water in the ocean will evaporate and go into the clouds. One day it will rain, and that same water might rain into your own yard, giving water to the plants in your yard. All the water on Earth cycles according to the image you are seeing here. Maybe pause if you want to look at this image longer. So let's talk about the human impact. As humans, we can have negative effects on the matter cycles. For example, dams can alter evaporation and therefore local rainfall patterns. Deforestation can also alter the water cycle on both a local and global scale. Did you know that deforestation in the Amazon River basin can actually affect the rainfall in areas as far away as China and Russia? Let's move on to the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle is a little complex, however, I'm going to break it down. The abiotic source for this cycle comes from carbon dioxide, CO2, that is in our atmosphere. The biotic uptake comes from photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is where plants take in CO2 and they produce oxygen. Respiration, as well as decomposition, work to return carbon back to the atmosphere. This process can be seen in the photo. Once again, maybe pause the video to take a deep look and further understand the material. Fossil fuel burning, deforestation, landfills, and stockyards all contribute to adding carbon to the atmosphere and are a factor of climate change. Next up is the nitrogen cycle, which is also complex but still understandable. Nitrogen is needed for many things such as amino acids, proteins, and DNA. A fun fact is that most of the air is made up of N2. The abiotic source is therefore N2 in the atmosphere, and the biotic uptake is through the roots of plants as NO3 and NH4+. This occurs through nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Let's look at this picture. I know it looks like a lot, but we're going to sum up some key points. We can say that bacteria in the soil carry out nitrogen fixation. That is, they pull nitrogen from the air and turn it into NO3- and NH4+. These are known as ions, and the plants will absorb these ions, making nitrogen available to consumers. An example of a consumer is a bunny that eats plants. Nitrogen also accumulates in ocean sediments. As always, pause and look at this picture further if you feel called to do so. The human impact on the nitrogen cycle can be seen by the effects of fertilizer. When extra nitrogen gets dumped into aquatic systems, for example, in the form of fertilizer, this can produce something known as an algal bloom. Algal blooms are toxic and reduce the oxygen levels in the water. This results in the death of many fish. This comes back to the idea from my last video of how a little bit of something is a good thing, but too much is not. A little bit of nitrogen or just the right amount is good, but too much nitrogen is not a good thing. And lastly, we have the phosphorus cycle. This is a simple cycle. There is very little phosphorus in the air. The abiotic source is rock in the form of PO4. Weathering of rocks allows phosphorus to enter aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, and the biotic uptake is through roots. Plants and phytoplankton absorb phosphorus and make it available to consumers like the little bunny we had talked about. And once again, here's a picture summing up the cycle. The human impact can once again be seen through the algal blooms caused by fertilizer. Notice how the cycles overlap, how they each affect our planet, and how our choices affect them. Everything is so connected, and it is our job to look after and preserve our planet for future generations. We can always learn, educate, and work together, and that's something important to remember throughout your whole life. All right, well, that's everything I have this week. So I hope that you learned something. I hope that you enjoyed. Just remember to, dream big, work hard, and always be kind. I believe in you, and I think that you guys can all do anything that you set your minds to.